morning. All right, what's going on? I'm in Recon 1 heading down to Cooter's garage. Brother-in-law Chris is going to be there. The three of us are going to start working on Recon 1. What do we got going on? Well, for starters, we got to pull the front axle. I got a bent front axle. So that's got to be straightened with the alignment bar, welded up, etc., etc. We're going to install sleeves. We're going to cut off the shitty stock axle control arm mounts for the lowers. Those are getting torched. Cut those off. They're twisted badly, especially the passenger side. Mounting new 1/4-inch steel Barnes lower control arm mounts. Cutting off the shock mounts. Mounting 1/4-inch steel Barnes shock mounts. 1/4-inch sleeves. Put all that back together. Get it ready for Windrock. That's what's going on. So I assume it's a multi-day project. So we'll put some hours in. Pretty excited about it. It's got to get done. Got to get her done. So stand by. Okay, down at Cooter's garage. First thing, we got a lot of work to do on Recon 1 before Windrock, but the first thing is he bought a special instrument to test the pressure of the power steering pump. So I just did the unplug the air intake temperature sensor. We'll take the intake off the throttle body, get that out, and we're going to be attaching in series, I believe, to the high pressure line on the steering box. So stay tuned. Okay, good look at the power steering lines right there. That the high pressure line is the one to the front. The low pressure line coming out of the box is the one closest to the firewall. 18 millimeter flared wrench would do just fine. Right, with a little ingenuity. So you can see the gauge set up right here, okay? So that curved line right there is going down into the high pressure input of the steering box, okay? There's the gauge. Then I had an extra high pressure line, which came in really handy because I was able to just bolt it right up the extra line I had. If not, that stock line, which is right there that's installed, this is the one that's attached underneath the radiator, that would have had to get up into the gauge, and that was just too awkward. So I was kind of happy that I had an extra line. So basically, the gauge is in series with the high pressure line. So as I recall, when I researched this test, I think it said you should be looking anywhere from like 125 to 250 normally. And then we turn the wheels left and right, and you want to conduct this test a few times and see the bypass kick in, maxing out, and then you can also do that by closing the valve right there. That would make it basic deadhead, just like if you were turning the wheel to the max left, max right. So there we go. It's set up. I think for purposes, unless you had another flex line that you could attach to this and go into the box. Like a flex line would make it really easy, but having a second high pressure steering line worked out pretty damn good. So not bad. It looks like everything is out of the way of the belt. Nothing's going to conflict. Obviously, I'll pop an engine code because the air intake temperature sensor is disconnected, but not bad.
Good here. All right, let's see how we've got.
No leaks. What do you got?
150 or so pounds.
Yeah, I think anywhere from 125 to 250 is normal.
Yep.
Now look at this is what. Oh, I can hear the power steer pump starving a little bit. Should I? Maybe I'll add some fluid because we got to fill. Yeah. Hear the pump starving for some.
Yeah, it's got some air in it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Left and right, Chris.
Now see, look here. Here's the interesting thing. We got flow on the gauge too.
Yeah.
If you look at that.
All right. All right. Look at your pressure. You just went up to 1500. Okay. Stop. Yeah. Chris, shut it down for a second. I want to see where the level tops off. I might add some level. All right. Steering's put back together. The tires are off of Recon 1. Chris is undoing the nuts for the ball joint deletes. Track bars disconnected, tie rods off, drag link, calipers, etc., etc. Unit bearings are out. Piece of shit RCV, all kinds of resistance here. So typical, you rebuild these things, they charge you a ton of money, they don't last. Okay, we put the knuckles back on because obviously the pucks will be going in there. Drain the front diff. Mike's got the locker harness undone as well as the plunger switch. We got to undo the drive shaft, 16 millimeter head. Get those 4 bolts for the drive shaft out. This is a stock lower control arm mount. Look at the freaking twist. This is a Rancho armor skid that is supposed to clamp on the outside. You can see it's just completely annihilated. It's got a terrible twist. Disgraceful what little weld they put on it, maybe 3/4 of an inch on each side. So this will all get cut off. The shock mount will end up getting cut off. This shock mount here, you can see why I bought new mounts. This thing's completely, look at this, Chris. Look at this one. Now look at the difference. This thing is buckled, yeah. And look at the thinness of the metal. So we'll replace that all with that nice Barnes big beefy one. So you can see we've got the axle sitting right here. We got the lower, the shocks is probably what's really holding it kinda. And then these lower control arm, these are in rough shape. Let's get a 22. I don't even know what the hell's gonna happen here with this. Get a little pry bar. So that should rotate down and on the jack right there, where the pinion is. Oh, wait a minute. So I have coil spring retainers. Oh. See that? So that's one thing that, yeah, okay. Yep, I forgot about that.
All right, let's come down just a little, and that way we're not putting, and I'll work out loosening.
Yeah, we'll have to undo those damn retainers. Yes, I'd say an hour and a half, me, Mike, and Chris. Front axle removed. You can see that coil spring retainers, we had to undo the bolts that hold those in place to the perch. But all in all, not bad. I was happy. I got some life on the front pads. Didn't run into anything too crazy, just that we have a bent axle. Chris and I will be, the whole bracket we're torching. And look at how little weld they put on. They put like an 1.25 inch weld at the top and a little 3/4 on the inside.
Yeah, not much.
At least this one held up.
Yeah, these are...
Those will end up getting trashed. They're just Rancho skid plates. Look at how thin this is, man. Just disgusting.
Well, I would...
yeah, we'll get that cover off, yeah. You can see that the front axle is out. You know, there's some good things and there's some bad things. I mean, obviously I got a bend on this side. Probably end up knocking this outer seal out. You can see the damage here on these stock mounts are gonna get removed. But right now it's the famous old locker plug, the pass-through connector. So I'm gonna undo this 8 millimeter nut, get this bolt out. There's an O-ring in there, and hopefully get the locker unplugged. All right, the electrical plug is off. You can see it for the solenoid. We're gonna undo these bearing caps. Obviously, I've been down this road 100 times, paying attention to orientation. Yeah, just get them loose and then we can take them out by hand. There you go. Other side. Don't be surprised if this little retainer flexes a little. Sometimes it does. Yep. Nice. You guys know I only ran one RCV outer seal. I'm pretty much done with these things. They barely fit in with the RCV boot. Obviously, the short side never bent, so I didn't have a problem. But when the long side bent, the friction ended up rotating that thing and just cutting it out like crazy. So the carrier's out. Next thing will be to knock these inner seals out. Then we're gonna have to do some cutting. Yeah, this got to all be cut out. Then unfortunately, so in order to bend this up, actually I think it needs to be bent down. So some upward pressure here is we're gonna end up probably having to make a cut. You know what I mean? You gotta have room here, which is sad. This is such a beautiful welding job, but I think what we'll end up doing is cutting that, because see how it's connected to the housing? So I gotta be able to make the correction. So, but all in all, not bad. It's coming along. What Chris is using is Mike has a nice long 3/4 inch bar. Yeah, you're up against it right there. And the rubber mallet. You'll feel it move. Yeah, it's just starting to come out. There it is. Oh yeah. Yeah, this will all get cleaned out. There you go. 2 seals out. Yes, sir. Sawzall, cutting wheel, brute force, channel locks. There we go. So the good thing about that is the shock mount's off and the lower control arm. So we just got to do the same thing over here. We just need to be careful. We've got the plunger switch right there, and we'll probably got to relocate this. All right, so you can see some grinding has taken place. The old mounts came off relatively easy. Our friend was the Sawzall. Mike's cleaning out the axle tubes right now and doing some prep for the sleeves just to make sure they're fitting in and landing where they're supposed to. Then we'll be drilling some holes in the tubes, which unfortunately we have to open up to 1/2 inch. Flap wheel it, clean off the table, put it on an angle, strap it down. Then we'll get the pucks in there and the alignment bar. Yeah, the shitty part of the job. I mean, they broke off fairly easy, but you still got to grind out all those welds and make it nice, and got to make the welder happy. So, and he's not happy yet. You can see Chris and Mike cleaning it up with the flap wheel. Again, taking the axle out, not a real big deal. A couple little things my Jeep has, like these spring retainers. All in all, not too bad. A little bit of damage on the bushing. I don't think it's anything to lose sleep over. Wasn't happy with the driver's side RCV subshaft. The Mike had checked some of the bearings, the com bearings inside the ball joint delete. He thought they were pretty good.